The Royal Rumble this week is this Sunday. And honestly, I've not really watched WWE much recently. I'm probably going to get the network just to watch Royal Rumble. This would be like the first pay-per-view I've watched in probably 2 years, and that was the Royal Rumble. I'm really looking forward to it, even though I don't really pay much attention to it like I used to. So one match is Kevin Owens and Reigns in the last man standing match. Is there any chance that you think Reigns would drop his title?
Knowing WWE, it very well could happen. Like, look, WWE logic is a thing for a reason because WWE logic makes absolutely no sense. But that being said, look, heel Roman's one of the hottest things they got going right now. I'm someone who hasn't really watched much. I haven't watched much Raw or SmackDown. I do watch the pay-per-views, but I do know what's going on with the product. That being said, look, you got something going with Roman being heel. Keep it that way. If you make Roman drop the title, it's just inexcusable. But then again, like we say, WWE always finds ways to piss people off. And I got something on my phone that when we get to the Royal Rumble match, I want to talk about that I found out from a source that I follow on Twitter that's very well connected within the whole inner circles of wrestling. But yeah, as for Roman Owens, it's going to be a good match because whenever these two link up, it's always a good match. But there's no chance. No way Roman's losing. Absolutely no way.
Yeah, I agree 100%. You look at top people in wrestling right now. Heel Roman Reigns should have happened years ago. The top people to me, like you think of wrestlers, Roman Reigns being a heel, Sasha Banks, but, I really don't really pay much attention to women's wrestling much. And then you look at Kenny Omega and AEW, he's doing like wrestling and tons of different promotions. But, WWE's kind of pushed Roman Reigns for years, but as a face. Them finally having a heel, I don't think he should lose his title anytime soon because he's the hottest thing in wrestling, like you said. But I do think it'll be a really nice match. To me, Kevin Owens is one of the most underrated wrestlers in the WWE today. I mean, look at his size, and he's still able to do some of the moves that he does. He's very, very underrated. I think it'll be a really, really nice match. But I do think Reigns will keep the title. And then the other championship match is Drew McIntyre against Goldberg, which should not be happening. I don't understand this at all. Like you said, WWE logic, it's so stupid. I don't think there's any chance McIntyre beats Goldberg because I think they're setting this up for a big WrestleMania match. Possibly, with somebody, we'll talk about the Royal Rumble match itself in a few minutes, but I think they're setting this up for a big WrestleMania match. I think Goldberg's going to win. And I think it was maybe around last August, Goldberg said that he has 2 more matches with WWE. He has 2 this year. He had 2 last year, 2 this year. So if he were to wrestle this match, win the championship, he would have a championship match on WrestleMania, and then he would lose it and then be done. Realistically, I think that's going to happen. I think there's 0 chance I think McIntyre would pull this victory over Goldberg.
I think McIntyre wins, but it gets more into what I think may happen in the Rumble, which I hope to God it doesn't. For all the stuff that WWE does, where I'm like, you guys have to stop relying so much on part-timers to get the job done. Like, rely on what you've got. Like, you don't have to go far from your system to get good talent. The fact that they think that, hey, you need Goldberg to sell says a lot about what the quality of the product is. Yeah, they got another $1 billion yesterday because of Peacock, but that's another thing for another day, obviously. For those of you who don't know, WWE Network, as of March 18th, is only available on the Peacock app, which is associated with NBC. But more later on with that. But with this match, I'm going McIntyre. But honestly, if Goldberg wins, you're going to have a lot of sour fans, and you're going to leave a sour taste in everyone's mouth. Even though there's no fans at the show, obviously the Thunderdome's still going on, and there probably won't be fans until WrestleMania in April. You're going to leave your fans pissed off. And guess what? This is supposed to be the kickoff to your biggest part of your year. Start it on a good note. Don't make people mad. But you know what? I do not hold it against WWE to have Goldberg go over. But at the same time, too, part of me just hopes that they do the right thing and allow McIntyre to retain the title.
I'll be really surprised if this match is more than 5 minutes. McIntyre has not really, really been, at the Thunderdome because, he had the coronavirus and everything. Goldberg matches tend to, they're really, really short. since his comeback from WWE a couple years ago with Lesnar at Survivor Series, I think he's maybe had one match over 5 minutes, and I'm not even sure if he had one. But he just spear, jackhammer. That's pretty much it. I think this will be a typical Goldberg match, just absolutely horrible. But you kind of talked about part timers and older guys in wrestling. To me, like WWE can rely on a couple part timers, but a couple only. Like you can't rely on Goldberg because nobody wants to see Goldberg, in a championship match at WrestleMania, which happened last year. But you can rely on Cena, and even though some people may not agree with Lesnar winning the majority of the time, I think people, you can rely on Brock Lesnar for the most part. Also, you kind of mentioned Edge, comparing with Brady retiring. Edge was on Raw yesterday. I didn't watch it, but, he announced his entry for the Royal Rumble. To me, I think that was really stupid. Why not just have him, come in the Royal Rumble and everybody be surprised again? I thought that could have been, really perfect. Not as perfect as it was last year, but a really good spot by WWE having Edge as another surprise entrant for the second straight year. But with the we'll go to the women's Royal Rumble match first before we go to the men's. To me, I kind of think this will be Alexa Bliss. They're making Alexa Bliss, Randy Orton, and The Fiend really, really intriguing. I really was not a fan of The Fiend until this until the Randy Orton feud started. Alexa Bliss is the most intriguing women's wrestler probably in the world right now because, her and The Fiend and Randy Orton RKOing her yesterday. Really, really interesting. I think she'll win the Royal Rumble and probably win a title at WrestleMania. And then, The Fiend will come back and he'll have a title at some point and they'll have titles together at the same time, making both those, The Fiend and Alexa Bliss, look really strong while both of them having titles.
I personally don't. I don't think that's going to happen. Also, before I get into the women's match, I was actually at that Survivor Series when Goldberg defeated Lesnar. That was in Toronto, and then also too, I was at the first ever Fiend match against I was about to say Bray Wyatt and really screw myself against Finn Balor. With the women's Royal Rumble, I'm going to give you two picks. I'm going to give you the who I want to see win, and then the who I think is going to win. The who I want to see win is Bianca Belair. There's a lot of star potential in her. She's got the charisma. She's the kind of wrestler she could be heel or face. She has obviously she has her hair. It's interesting to me, but you know what? She's got the athleticism. She's got the talent. I'll also say this too. Her husband Montez Ford is the most charismatic person in that company right now. But Bianca Belair is someone. Look, there is a lot of potential in there for her to succeed. It's just a matter of if WWE wants to pull the trigger with her. Now to who I think is going to win, and I think they're going to give it to Bayley to set up a Bayley versus Sasha Banks match at WrestleMania. Bayley is still, and also, never mind, because Asuka won the first one. I was going to say, then you have 3 of the 4 horsewomen have won Royal Rumbles. I think it's just another notch on Bayley's belt, if you will, because she is a Grand Slam champion. Longest reigning, I believe, SmackDown Women's Champion, too. If it weren't for a dumb 5-day Charlotte Flair reign, she would have been champ from basically May of 2019 till October of 2020. But no, I'm going with Bayley to win this match just because, look, I think they want to redo the Sasha Bayley matchup. Another fun fact, when Sasha and Bayley faced off at NXT Brooklyn 1, I was there, and it opened my eyes to women's wrestling as a whole. I always watched it, but that just made me a fan of it. But no, I would love to see Alexa Bliss win. I'm an Alexa Bliss fan myself. I've met her multiple times. One of the nicest wrestlers I've met. But at the end of the day, I think they want to go with Sasha Banks versus Bayley again, and especially on the grandest stage of them all.
I'm going to be honest. Like I said, I don't really watch the WWE much. I don't know much about Bianca Belair, but I've kind of seen highlights. I know they're pushing her a lot, trying to make her into a star. But, Bayley and Sasha Banks, that'd be interesting to see if they, have another feud like that. But, that's super cool. You've been to WrestleManias and Survivor Series. I've been a couple of house shows. I went to Raw once about 3 or 4 years ago in Columbus. It was one of the Christmas episodes. And that was the episode where Jericho was in the shark cage for the beginning of it when they still had Owens and Jericho. And it's kind of, you kind of mentioned Alexa Bliss. At one of the house shows I was at, I was able to meet Kevin Owens, which was really weird to me because, me and my dad go to different events, and it's like, if it's Ziggler or Heath Slater at the time or Natalia, we'll probably meet them because those guys are like really nice and stuff. We didn't think we, meet Kevin Owens because, he always like stays in character. But it's really cool because he was one of the most nicest wrestlers we've ever met. And I mean, he was really, really nice. And that really makes me jealous meeting Alexa Bliss because she's been on my list of people I want to meet. And she's on my all-time list of people I want to interview on here. She's one of the ones at the top. Like, that's pretty freaking awesome that you were able to meet her.
Yeah, I met her at WrestleManias 32 through 34, and all the access is there. And then I met her at a Raw in Buffalo, New York back in 2018 at a Cricket Wireless before that. But no, Kevin Owens too. I've met him once. It was briefly at the Westin Hotel downtown Toronto during SummerSlam because I decided to be one of those weird people that goes to the hotel and meet people. But that's just a knock on me. But anyway, before we get into the men's Rumble, just with the women's Rumble, besides the first one, the last 2 years has been terrible. So I'm hoping the match is better. And also, too, back to what you said about Edge before, part of me isn't totally upset that he wasn't a surprise. But at the same time, too, I kind of wish he was. But I feel like if he was a surprise, it would still get a great reaction. But like you said, it's nowhere near as good as last year. That's just my 2 cents on it. That, like, look, I'm not like, oh my God, I can't believe they ruined him. I'm more upset that they're going to be ruining number 30 on that WWE backstage show this Saturday night. That's something I think, you know what, if you're leaving that to be someone who's coming back or someone random, leave it for the show. You're taking the fun out of the Royal Rumble. Because when we count down at 30, if you're already pissed off and you think you know who's going to win, you're just going to make your fans more upset. And like I said, I don't hold it past WWE to piss us off.
It was a couple years ago. I don't know which year. I think it was 2 years ago because that's kind of when AEW started, and there was lots of talks that Omega was maybe going to go to WWE because his contract with New Japan expired the next day, and I was really hoping that Omega would go to WWE. Now I'm so glad he didn't. But I believe number 30 that year was either Reigns or Ziggler. Like somebody, like, if you're going to have number 30, have it somebody huge, in my opinion. And what was it? I mean, yeah, I'm just really excited for this. Is there any, like, surprise people you think could maybe, be in the Royal Rumble?
Not surprised. Also, too, I just wanted to look up quickly to see who was number 30 for the in 2019, and it was Nia Jax. It was originally R-Truth, but then she attacked him, so there's that. This year it's going to be tough. You're just going to have a bunch of weird, obscure legends, I feel. I think it's harder to get people because of the lack of crowd and because of the just with COVID and everything. I don't know how many people are going to want to come down just for one night only. I think you're going to see stupid stuff like Jeff Jarrett and the Hurricane. If we got a random legend that we hadn't seen before, cool. But I don't know a whole lot of surprises. Like, I'm trying to think of people off the top of my head. Maybe someone from Undisputed Era besides Adam Cole. Maybe, like a Walter. Then again, no, never mind. With the UK thing, I think that's even that too. Like, you can't get someone who's from out of country. That's why, for as much as people, like, I could say Brock Lesnar, but I totally don't know because Brock does live up in Canada. He's in Saskatchewan in, like, the middle of nowhere. I don't know if they're going to be able to bring him down for the Rumble or even WrestleMania at this point. I feel like he'll be there. But if I had to go with someone, I'm just going to say Brock Lesnar because Vince loves him. That's why. And another thing, too, is I saw with WrestleMania this year, Undertaker's to be determined. That is one thing I do not want to see happen is Undertaker at WrestleMania. And as for another surprise entrant, you know what? I'm going to come out and say it right now. Or I'm not even going to say it. I'm just going to do a simple hand gesture for who I think another surprise entrant could be.
I 100% agree with Lesnar and Cena. We'll go ahead and go to our picks. Those are the two people I have, and solely because I mentioned I think Goldberg's going to win. We've not seen Lesnar on WWE since WrestleMania last year when he lost to McIntyre. I think they're going to have Lesnar, win it because, okay, let's say if McIntyre wins, it'll be a rematch from last year's WrestleMania. Or if Goldberg wins, he needs one more match to, end his contract with WWE. You have the rematch of Goldberg and Lesnar from a couple years ago. And with Cena, realistically, I think Cena has a decent chance of winning. It's all about WWE creative if they decide to do it or not. I know I don't like seeing WWE or AEW. I mean, they have Sting on there now. I don't like seeing wrestling companies relying on, part-timers. There's a difference between somebody like Randy Orton and Chris Jericho, somebody who is, consistently on weekly television, and then somebody like a Brock Lesnar or now a part-timer like Cena. I think Cena makes so much sense because I want to see Cena and Reigns so bad. To me, Cena and Reigns was the last really good feud in WWE. I believe it was 2017. They did that absolutely phenomenal. I was actually just watching that feud just the other day. It was a remarkable job by those two guys. And, WWE is losing ratings by the week. They have a huge ratings problem. I know it would be on SmackDown, and the bigger problem for ratings is on Raw. But if you have Cena and Reigns, two of the top guys in wrestling today, not even close, really, that you're really going to get eyes on your product. Main event of WrestleMania. I really don't think you can get higher two wrestlers than that. I think it's a risky move. I know some fans may not like it, but as a business point, I think it would be absolutely genius because you cannot get higher than Cena and Reigns, the main event of WrestleMania, against each other.
I personally don't think that Cena will win the Rumble. I'm just saying I think it's good for, a one-off appearance. And especially if he's going to appear at WrestleMania, you set up a feud that night by someone he eliminates. The one thing I saw on my phone that was about the Royal Rumble was from the account's called WrestleVotes on Twitter. Sorry for the lack of details here, but still noteworthy. In my opinion, had a brief conversation earlier with a source regarding the men's Royal Rumble match. They said, quote, "There's a finish that scares the death out of me and it's legitimately getting heavy consideration. Yikes." That's where I think someone like, if Goldberg loses, that he re-enters the Rumble and they do Goldberg versus Reigns. That was supposed to be at Mania 36 wins, or Brock Lesnar wins. If they give Goldberg just that, that notch on his belt to win a Rumble, it makes no sense. You're literally going to have him out there because a lot of times the Rumbles now too, guys don't go over the top rope. They'll go under the bottom rope. They'll hang out on the outside. I've seen it more in the women's match, but you could do something like that where you could hide them for 20 to 30 minutes. Miz has done it before because Miz is one of the underrated Royal Rumble superstars in years where he's been in there for an hour. He's been to 2, but then he'll last to the top, the last, I think, 8 or 6. But with this match, when I hear stuff like that, you're going to have a locker room full of pissed off people. This match is used to elevate new stars. And out of all their Rumble winners within the last, I think, 5 or 6 years, only Drew and Roman were the first-time winners. And obviously, that's another thing, too. I was at that Royal Rumble when Reigns won in Philly in 2015. Besides that, if you look at their winning history, and also to Shinsuke, never mind. Shinsuke and Seth Rollins. So they have used it before, but they've never used it really to the ability where hey, it's unexpected, they're pushing someone, and they're getting a new star made. That's where you can do it and use it to someone's advantage and build a new star. I don't think that's going to happen Sunday. And personally, I think, and especially too, because there's going to be fans and it's because it's at Raymond James Stadium, I think Brock Lesnar's winning the Royal Rumble, and I'm not happy about it. I'm not. I'm going into Sunday knowing, hey, I'm probably going to get disappointed. And you know what? I won't be shocked if it was, and it'll kind of lighten the burn a little bit.
Yeah, I think it'll be Lesnar or Cena, one of those two guys. I'd be surprised if it's not. But, is there, to me, I think there's a couple of dark horses who can maybe win, like Big E. WWE splits up the New Day. It makes no sense. If you're going to have Big E on a singles run, let him go on a singles run, but don't, split them up. And another somebody else is maybe Daniel Bryan. You know, he kind of says it's probably his last like big stint in WWE, more so part timing because Brie Bella just had their second kid not too long ago. Kind of be more like spending time with his family. I think those two guys are some underrated people to watch out for to possibly win it. Is there anybody for you that you think could be underrated person to win it?
Daniel Bryan is my dark horse to win it. Daniel Bryan, someone I would love to see win it. I would love to see him versus Roman at WrestleMania. I think that's a match that makes perfect sense. Big E, I would like to as well, but he does hold the Intercontinental title right now, and I can't see someone who holds the mid-card singles title winning the match. But besides that, I got to say, because I usually go into every year thinking, hey, someone who could win it and someone who I want to see win it. Last year, we didn't know, and that's why it was so great to see McIntyre win. This year, however, I think it's going to be more predictable, and that's not a good thing. But no, if they swerve us and have Daniel Bryan win it, you're going to make the fans happy. And you know what? That's another career accolade to add to him too, because Daniel Bryan, since he lost the title back in 2019, hasn't really been used all that well. So you get him the title, you get him back into that WrestleMania main event picture, and he's a face this time too. It's not like he's heel like 2 years ago when he had the Fickle storyline and he was like the Daniel Bryan where he had the title made out of recyclable material. And then obviously that was a great story too that him and Kofi built, and obviously Kofi winning the title at that WrestleMania. But even too, that's another guy you could use to win it is Kofi Kingston. Like obviously they made him do that stupid thing where they made him work for it. But there's so many mid-card guys that are deserving to win it. It's just Vince will not give them the opportunity. And that's what annoys me about WWE.
Like I said, I don't watch WWE like I used to. If I get the network, which I'm kind of hoping I will, this would be the first pay-per-view I would watch in at least 2 years. And the reason I don't watch it, I mean, I record each episode, but I pretty much just fast forward it towards the end, unless there's something that intrigues me, like The Fiend or something like that. But the reason I don't watch it enough is because it's bland. It's pretty much been the same old stuff for the past several years. I think this, in my opinion, I didn't start watching wrestling until 2014, but to me, 2016 has easily been the best year since 2014. 2017 was good too, but it's just been really bland and predictable. And I mean, you're not giving the fans what you want. It's like, well, we're going to have Goldberg fight somebody at WrestleMania. I mean, nobody wants Goldberg to fight at WrestleMania. We're going to have Lesnar in a championship match. Nobody wants Lesnar. You want to see new talent, or younger talent who can, really start up a big career. Somebody like Cesaro. He's a really talented wrestler, but he's not really had, a huge push like he should. And there's some other people too. Just to me, like I'm excited for it, but I really figure that WWE is 100% more than likely going to screw this up.